Hello, my dears. Feels weird not doing a video with someone else, but today is a significant day in terms of my life, or the life that I've been living for the last few years. So, 13th of July 2012 is the day that I started socially transitioning. So, it's the day I started living as Debbie. So, it has now been 8 years, and I felt that the situate I felt that the date was significant, and I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned in those 8 years. Really inspired by, I've recently become friends with a girl called Jess, and she's a friend of a friend. So I know a band called Hooray for Tuesday, and Abby is she's a singer in that band. Really lovely young lady. Get on well with her and all the band. And she had this friend who saw a video that I did a few weeks ago called Jess, and she posed a question on her Facebook earlier. She said, "This is all girls in their 20s. If you're a woman, you're age 30 or over, what would you say to those girls?" And it was like, I was humming and hawing about whether or not I was going to do this video, and then I saw that video and I was like, I've got to do this video. Not that I'm saying that this is specifically for her, because I think it's important to acknowledge the journey that I've had, but also I think it's important to share our experiences out there, because there's always going to be someone who's going to benefit potentially from what you have to share. The human condition is one that we're social animals. That's how we've evolved as a species, as Homo sapiens, and certainly what lockdown has brought to the fore is the fact how much we rely on our network, how much we rely on our communities, whether it's our work community or friend community, or even our extended social community with things like, going to gigs as I do regularly in Manchester, or going to a cafe on a Saturday, whatever your social circle is. I think once we're removed from it, it becomes really obvious how much we rely on each other. So we all have a story, and this is the deep bit now. So prepare yourself, get yourself comfortable. So we all have a story in our lives. We all carry around this version of who and what we think that we are, based on past experiences, things that we've heard, things that we've gone through, and perceived perceptions about what we think our life is supposed to be, but also what we think other people's idea of what our life is supposed to be. And the whole of my life up until the age of 39, I tried to live other people's versions of what my story should be. So struggle with gender identity my whole life. As early as I can remember, I wanted to be a girl, and I didn't really have the language to explain that. So I just tried to be masculine, because that was what the cards had been dealt. That was the role I'd been given by society. I just didn't have the language to be able to talk about this, and this was in the 70s and 80s, remember? So fast forward till the age of 39, I just come to a point in my life, having been through a marriage and a breakup, and that wasn't down to me being trans either. My ex-wife is a fucking phenomenal lady, and I love her dearly, and I want her to be happy. I can now see things through her eyes because I've lived as a woman for so long, but also not even necessarily because I've lived as a woman, but because I've lived my truth, and I'm no longer a person who is seated in anger and frustration at the fact that I'm not being myself. I'm not the best version of me yet. I'm improving daily, and I honestly see that. I try and read, I try and watch stuff on self-development, I try and take influences from both people I respect and also from people who I disagree with. I think that when we don't listen to opinions of those who we don't necessarily agree with, but or might inflame us, I think that we're missing part of the human experience. And also we can understand each other better if we listen to the opinions of those who we don't agree with. I'm going off tangent. Typical me though, isn't it, really? But in the last 8 years, I've learned that more about myself in the last 8 years than probably I did in the first 39. But since I've lived my truth, I would say that I'm not wishing I was something I wasn't, and that's the biggest gift I've given to myself in these last 8 years, is in living who I am, in being open to reveal my vulnerability, reveal who I actually am, I've blossomed. I have absolutely, they say about the lotus flower being buried in the mud and something grows out of the mud. That's absolutely beautiful. This is how I see my transition. Someone posted a question on my Facebook the other day about trans women. It's like, why aren't they just women? Why don't you drop the trans label? I think in society, eventually we will, because society goes on and culture shifts and language shifts. I think eventually the trans will be dropped, even though there's an anti-LGBT movement in Europe and in Poland and in Hungary and in Ukraine and to an extent the US. I think that predominantly most people don't really care about who you love. It's more about the kind of person that you are, and I find that is the majority of people anyway. So my advice to anyone out there who is not certain, doesn't know what to do in their life, isn't really confident in their choices or comfortable in taking risk, take the fucking risk. If there's one thing that destroys you, it's hiding who you are. As long as it's morally right and it's legal, fucking do it, man. And by that I mean, there are certain there are certain things, certainly from a sexual point of view, that are just morally wrong and you should never fucking do them. And you know what I'm talking about. I'm not even going to go there. But, to live your truth and be authentically yourself is the most beautiful gift that you can give to the world, because the impact that you will have on other people's lives just by being yourself and being happy and coming to the world from a place of love rather than a place of hate, from coming to the world from a place of self-acceptance. If you want to be in a relationship with someone else, you have to accept yourself first and love yourself first, not from a place of ego, but from a place of self-acceptance. And I think that you bring far more to those in your life and to an extent the extended people in your life by being yourself, by being true to yourself, by being, aligned with who you really are. I think I've learned that you have to be patient with yourself. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and it's an old cliche, and you go, yeah, Debs, whatever. But as soon as I started this transition, what was really evident to me is a lot of my community become frustrated at the lack of progress. When we make a decision and we go on this journey, we expect to have hormones and some people, if that's your chosen route, a lot of us can get frustrated at the lack of progress. It's called transition for a reason. I've said this in many videos before. It's not called switch. It's called transition for a reason. And growing into the person that you become on any journey in life, I think is one of the most beautiful things that you can give yourself. To learn about who you are and what you love and stuff, and to take risks and to try things out. And if you fail, then to not beat yourself up about it. A failure is doing something with experience, and just because you haven't been successful at one thing doesn't mean to say you're not going to be successful at it again. I mean, to use learning to drive as a metaphor, I took 4 tests before I passed on my 4th attempt. And the first test, my driving instructor said, the test person said, I'm pleased to tell you failed. I mean, I wanted to punch him, I didn't, but I think because of that, it made me a better driver, because I was more aware of I think I'd have been too confident and cocky if I'd have been passing my test first time. But quite often as well, in my transition, certainly in the last 8 years, the things that have happened to me where it's gone against what I wanted has often been a blessing in disguise. And I'm going to give you an example. So I was in a relationship. It's all on my Facebook. I keep getting reminders at the moment. It's still in my head, but I've left them there because it's it's part of who I am. So I was in a relationship for 3 years with a woman, and we were in love, and we're engaged, we're married, etc. And she had her own demons. And we were okay going through that together. But ultimately, when I moved up to the Northwest and I couldn't be this level of support that I was, because I was going through a stressful time with a new role and everything myself, it drifted apart. And then she went and she left me for a guy. The one thing I didn't want was to separate. But in us separating, it gave me the space to learn who I was again, and to it's invigorated my passion to follow the things that I love, and music is one of those. And in following my passion for music, whilst currently during lockdown I haven't been able to do this. You know, I'm a presenter on Gadio, which is the largest LGBT radio station in the UK. I'm now a social media manager for a really cool online music magazine, the VLM. I run a successful music blog, Dreaming is Free, in Manchester. You know, like the things that I'm doing because I'm giving into my passions and following things that I love, they blow my mind. If you'd have said to me 8 years ago, when I first started my transition, that you, in 8 years' time, you'll have lived in 6 houses, soon to be 7, in 8 years. You will have had 3 relationships. Once you were nearly, we are going to be married. I would have thought you would bar me in like such a short space of time. I feel like I've lived like a few lifetimes. But if there's one thing you can take from me sharing this stuff, and I've realized I've gone on for a bit now, it's like, chase your dreams. Do stuff that scares you, because quite often what you will find is on the edge of like the things that you want to do but you're scared to do, you will find you will be the most happy. At the other side of your fear of the thing that you want to do is everything that you've ever wanted. And if I can leave you with anything in this chat, it's to follow your truth, follow your dreams, go beyond your fear, because on the other side of your fear is everything you've ever wanted, as I've just said. So I hope that this has helped at least one person. If it hasn't, it's been worth it. It's been a really emotional 8 years, and I'm at a place in my life now where I've finally accepted who I am, but I've also forgiven those who can't accept me. You know, I've had family who have disowned me because of this, and I've held on to that hate as it's something that's really hurt me. And it's only since I've been meditating in lockdown that I've let go. You know, I can't make anyone love me or accept me, but what I can do is I can make me accept me and love me, and I can forgive them for not accepting me. Whether or not those relationships will be rekindled at some point in the future, I have no idea. But to hold on to anger because someone can't accept who you are only hurts you, because they're not going to change their mind or their view, are they? So like, rather than being angry, for example, at the way that my mum doesn't accept me, I was doing this meditation, and I cried because I took a time to think about, my mum and the sacrifices that she made. She had me when she was 18, at a time in the 70s, and then she got married after she got pregnant with me and stuff like. So she made a lot of sacrifices to herself to have me, and for that I will always be eternally grateful. And like, when you look at how much someone has loved you in the past, if you hate them, or if they've done something bad to you, I think, whilst in some instances you have to keep them at a distance, to forgive them is a blessing to you, and it enables you in your spirit and your soul to move on. So I know I have waffled quite a bit now, so I am going to leave it there. But follow your truth, chase your dreams, and everything in between, because ultimately that was where you were going to be your most happy. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to sharing an update in 8 years, which will be 16 years into this transition. Who the fuck knows where I'll be? I don't know, I might be fucking Prime Minister. Who knows? But I'm just going to keep aiming high, because don't tell me the sky's the limit when there's footsteps on the moon. Follow your voice, chase the important. Peace out.